Hi and hello watch fans, and welcome to another edition of The Real Time Show with me, your friendly neighbourhood watchmaker, Rob Nuds. For the next 3 episodes, we're going to be experiencing something of a site-wide takeover as we celebrate the upcoming RedBar SouthEast watchmaking event due to be held on September 16th in Brighton. There are going to be 12 watch brands exhibiting, showcasing the best of British watchmaking, and we are going to have a representative from each brand on the air, just briefly to discuss what their brand is all about, and also to express the importance of in-person events for small up-and-coming watch brands. Without further ado, let's welcome our first guest to the studio, the man behind the event, Kevin Roberts. Welcome to the virtual studio. Please tell us what on earth inspired you to organise this wonderful RedBar SouthEast event.
Well, thanks for the introduction, Rob. It was just basically talking to the brands. Obviously, I've been interested in horology for some time now, and I've got to know quite a few of the British brands going to RedBar events where they would have their current collections, and just got talking to the heads, the CEOs, the people who actually make the watches or design the watches. And it was decided sort of like back in November that, we really should have a British event celebrating horology in the UK. And it's taken some time to get here, but we're here now.
So would you say this is one of the first of its kind, like openly advertised as the best of British watchmaking or so on? Because, I've been to a few events and I've seen quite a few of these brands before, but I don't think I've ever really seen one that's branded in this way.
Yes, I think so, because obviously you have Watch Pro and you have Watch Time UK, which are not just British brands, they are amalgamation of other Swiss brands as well. So, they're out there. They do a fantastic job, but I just wanted to concentrate on British brands, British watchmakers, a celebration of what's going on out there design-wise, and so we can have an event together with them all together. And this is just a selection. I'm not saying these are the best of the best of the best, but these are the ones that I think most people have heard of.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of stuff out there that won't be at the event, but there's so much at the event that anyone that goes along will be spoilt for choice on what to see. Why don't you tell us who is going to be showing at the event?
So we've got 12 brands coming to the event. We've got AnOrdain, Christopher Ward, Elliot Brown, Farah, Fears, Helicon, Isotope, Schofield, Studio Underdog, Vertex, William Wood, and Zero West.
I love how you tried to make that sound like you weren't reading it off a list, but you forgot that you've alphabetized it. So,
I did. I know.
Could have gone for a random order. You might have been able to fool us, but nice effort. It was good. It was theatrical. I love it. Keep it going.
Absolutely. Sorry. I know if I didn't do it that way, I probably would have forgotten one. So
no, you can't be doing that. No. So talking to these brands, since you've managed to avoid forgetting one of them and therefore not alienating yourself from them too much, let's try some alienation. Which brands are you most looking forward to seeing? You don't have to tell me which ones you're not bothered about at all, because that would really hurt some feelings. But which of these brands are you really excited to see personally as a collector?
All of them.
Oh, come on, Kevin. This is the Real Time Show. Come on.
Okay. I know that, for instance, Isotope are coming with some new stuff, which I don't think will be released by the 16th of September. So I'm interested to see what Jose's done. He's got some amazing stuff coming out. Also, AnOrdain, they're just brilliant all the time. I always take pictures of their new releases, and I get emails from them saying, "Can you take it down from Instagram because it's been released?"
Yeah, well, they don't like publicity because they've sold all their watches until 2027. It's a bit of a problem for them.
It is indeed. And of course, Fears, I love Nicholas. I love his design. Got a few of his. Farah are interesting. They're all great brands. Vertex Dom is amazing, what he's doing. Richard from Studio Underdog.
All right, stop it now. You don't have to go through all of them. Okay, we got your answer. It's good enough. Brilliant. So why Brighton? Are you based in Brighton?
No, we chose Brighton because we thought it was a destination location as well as a great place to have an event. Obviously, the event runs from 1 till 6, so you got 5 hours there, but you don't have to spend 5 hours there. You come along, have a look at the brands, have a drink, spend a couple hours there, and then you're free to go and have fish and chips on the beach or having a pint somewhere else. So yeah, we didn't want it to, and it's also a good location to have. I mean, it's quite easy to get to. So we chose Brighton for those reasons.
Well, yeah, I suppose it's easy enough to find. You just keep going until you hit the sea and then they'll go any further.
Pretty
I mean, that's
much.
the definition of a destination. You can't go any further. It's
Precisely.
right on the edge of the country. Bloody hell. And no, it sounds lovely, and it is a lovely place, and I'm sure that'll be a great place. And I tell you what, it's Richard Bence's hometown, isn't it? That's where he's based now, Studio Underdogs.
It is indeed. Yeah. And there's a few people who are around the corner from there as well, the other brands. So, yeah, it'll be good. It'll be great.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure Giles is very, very grateful for you putting it so close to him.
Yes, he is. He's the first one.
He'll probably run there knowing Giles is to, just pop down, put the Schofield company on his back and just jog it. That's his kind of thing.
Precisely.
All right. So if people come down on September 16th, how do they get into the event? Do they need a ticket?
They do need a ticket, but fundamentally, you first of all need to be a member of RedBar UK. So we've got different chapters where you can join whichever location you're coming from. So starting from the top of the United Kingdom, I'm trying to get this right. You've got Edinburgh, Scotland, Manchester, Leeds. There's a Northeast, I believe, and then we've got. Bristol, Oxford, London, of course, Southeast, which covers Kent, Surrey, Sussex, and a bit of Essex, Cambridge. I think those are the ones in the UK. So you find information on Instagram. You type in RedBar, for instance, RedBar Oxford. Go to the bio and you'll find the application form to join RedBar Oxford. And it's the same with all the other chapters in the UK. I'm sure it'll be straightforward for you to join, and then information will come out as and when. I think the ticket's already out there. So what we'll do is we'll make sure that the new people who join will get a reminder email. And please come along. The tickets are free. Everything's free. First 100 people who come will get a drink. And it'll be great. Great to see as many people down there as possible.
So tickets are free, but you need a ticket because I guess it's a security thing, right? People need to know who's coming and where they're coming from.
Absolutely, yeah. We don't want Tom, Dick and Harry to turn up and maybe potentially spoil things. But it's primarily it's a celebration of British watches for RedBar UK members only.
And if this is a success, which I'm sure it will be, do you envisage doing more events of this nature in the future?
It's a possibility. We shall see. I know that, for instance, we do have events with the brands individually. So, we've had an event with Studio Underdog with RedBar SouthEast, same with Fears. So we've had them individually. So we thought we might just combine and do one big one with all of the brands and, 12 brands at the moment. We could have another one next year with 12 different brands, but we will see. We shall see.
Excited, watch this space, but people need to get down to this event and enjoy it this time around in case it is the only time that it happens. And they're I'm sure, going to want to come and see you and shake your hand. So how can people find you? You're going to be wearing a big, bright pink suit or something?
No.
Shame.
It's a shame. Yeah, maybe a green one. But
all right, that'd be cool.
I'll be around. You'll find me. Whoever knows me, just ask for Kevin and they'll point you in the right direction.
If you can't see him, just listen for that iconic laugh, because I'm sure that'll be floating around the hall as the evening progresses and everyone gets ever more merry and excited about being in one of those company. Kevin, thanks for taking the time to talk to me, and thank you ever so much for organising this event. It's exactly what the industry needs, and the more people like you, the better. So thanks, mate. Have a good one, and let's talk to some of the people that are going to be exhibiting.
Thanks, Rob. Thanks very much for your time.
All right, it is my distinct pleasure to welcome Johnny Garrett of William Wood Watches to the virtual studio, and we're going to be talking a little bit about the brand and Johnny's connection to RedBar. Johnny, welcome. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me on.
It is my pleasure. So we were just discussing off air that you are a native Brit, but no longer on the island yourself. Tell us a little bit about where you are today.
That is right. Yeah. So I now live in the south of France. So I moved here back in October last year. I actually followed my wife, who is French. We did 10 years living in London. We sort of did the heavy slog there, and now we have a beautiful quality of life down here, and we get to fly into London every few weeks, which is great.
Very nice indeed. What a lovely part of the world to live in. But your watches, they draw their inspiration from a very different place and a very different time. So how about you tell us about William Wood, the brand that has been causing great waves, not just here in Europe, but over the Atlantic as well, from what I hear.
With pleasure. So the brand is dedicated to my grandfather, William Wood. Some people think that I am William, and I have to say on numerous occasions, no, that is my granddad, I am Johnny. So William Wood was my late grandfather. He lived up in Newcastle, and he was a firefighter for 25 years, retiring in 1982. He served on what you call the Blue Watch. So in the UK Fire and Rescue Service, they break up the shift patterns into different colours. So he did 25 years on the Blue Watch in a station called Pilgrim Street. And he was a massive role model in my life. He was also a role model to all of the colleagues that he worked with over that period. And the brand is dedicated to my grandfather and firefighters and first responders internationally. So what makes the watches incredibly unique, Rob, is the fact that they're made from genuine upcycled firefighting materials. We take materials such as 100-year-old decommissioned British brass firefighters' helmets. We melt them down and turn them into our watch cases. And then our straps are made from genuine upcycled fire hose, which have been used by fire departments all around the world for the last 10 years. Rather than them being thrown into landfill, they're donated to us and we turn them into our luxury watch straps. And of course, we donate a percentage of all of our sales to international firefighting charities around the world.
I mean, you say of course, but that is definitely not par for the course. That's something quite remarkable and really nice that you're feeding back into the industry that inspires your watches. And I've had a couple of your pieces in my hands over the years, and I have to say that the material, the hose material particularly, is a really beguiling thing. I've never really seen anything like it. It has its own feel and its own character, and you can really feel the history on the wrist. Now, I can imagine how that resonates very greatly with people from Britain, especially people from your grandfather's area, especially those that know the story. But I hear that it's very popular in the States. Now, how did you manage to break America?
Yeah, it's a funny one, that. So, I mean, we've been going for 7 years now, and in the last 12 months, we actually have seen a shift where our official home market, if you want to go by percentage of customers, is America. So 55% of all of our customers now are based in the US. I mean, I think there's a few things really, or a few strings to the bow there. One, it's the natural support and patriotic tendency of the US. And I think also if you wanted to rank first responders in order, firefighters, I think, will come out number one. They always say that if you have a police officer come to your door, you sort of try and work out what have I done wrong. But if you have a firefighter come to your door, you say, come in, have a cup of tea, sit down, have a coffee. You know, it's a lot more inviting. And we certainly find that as a brand as well. I think the other layer to that question is the fact that for a few years now, we've been doing the Wind Up Watch Fair, where we go to the 3 different locations every year. So we do San Francisco, Chicago, and New York. And it's a great way of being able to meet really passionate watch enthusiasts in an independent watch arena who actually really want to learn more about who you are, what you stand for, touch, feel, and as we say, smell the watches, because you can smell sometimes that smokiness in the fire hose rubber. And I think it's been a combination of those two things. And you mentioned charity as well, because the final element is the fact that we have collaborated with some of the biggest fire foundations in the US. They're called charities foundations, and fire departments in the world. So as an example, we produced a watch for the biggest fire department in the world, which is the New York Fire Department. we donated $25,000 to the FDNY Foundation as a result of the watches that we sold. And that watch is now stocked in their store in the Rockefeller Center in New York. So it's things like that where we collaborate and give back, which has allowed us to be able to, I think, accelerate the growth over the pond.
So it's all about doing business in the right way and forming those good relationships that are going to last for a lifetime, hopefully. And talking about those relationships that you've been forging, attending all 3 wind-up fairs in San Francisco, Chicago, and New York, as you said, is quite an undertaking and an investment. But I suppose for an up-and-coming brand like yours, being in direct contact with your would-be community is the most important thing. And that segues beautifully into the purpose of our recording today, to discuss the RedBar SouthEast meetup that you are taking part in. So tell us about the event a little bit and why the RedBar community matters to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it sounds like it's going to be a very exciting event. I think it's going to be the first event of its kind, which is going to be getting a handful of British independent brands together. It's funny because the founders of the brands have been talking amongst each other for a long time to say, wouldn't it be great to have a very sort of quintessentially British event where you can come in and it's exclusively British event, British brands in the room. So when RedBar reached out to us and said that they were going to sort of take the reins on that, we certainly were really excited about it. I think what's also cool is the location as well. The fact that it's based in Brighton. A lot of all of these shows seem to just be based in London. And as you and I, as Northerners ourselves, it's such a shame to think I have to jump on a train and go to the big smoke every time. So I think it's cool that we're going to be doing it in a hotel in Brighton. And then, yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's RedBar individuals who are going to be able to attend the event. RedBar is a fantastic community. And the other great thing is all of the RedBar sort of top senior boards are really fantastic people and very accessible as well. The amount of times that we've met people like Kathleen, who's come to different shows at Worn and Wound and even Watchborough in the UK, it's great to be able to see that watch communities all over the world can come together and meet up in their own clubs or communities and talk about and share their passion for watches. And I think that's why this event is going to be very exciting, the very fact that it's just going to be British independents in one room.
So I assume that as well as being a producer of watches, you are also a fan of watches. And I guess that you've crossed paths with many of the brands that will be exhibiting alongside you at this event. But have you seen everybody, or is there going to be some new brands for you as well at this RedBar meetup?
I think I've seen everybody, I must admit. This is the thing, when you do the sort of road show or the different watch shows around the world, you definitely get to mingle and catch up and have a few fun nights out as well with other brands. So yeah, I know all of the brands that are going to be there, and this is the great thing as well, which I don't think is talked about enough, is the brand owners and the teams in the British independent space are all great people. It's very supportive. Things like the British Watchmakers Alliance brings us all together. There's a platform there where we can actually talk about pitfalls, challenges, what's worked, what's not worked. And that's the great thing. I actually think that it's a very supportive space. And we don't really see ourselves as competitors. I'll give you an example. There's a big portion of our customers that will have a Christopher Ward watch, that will have a Studio Underdog watch, that will own a Fears watch. I mean, there's one example where I was on the train going back up to Newcastle from London, and I spotted a Fears Brunswick Salmon on a guy's wrist. And I took a cheeky little picture of him sat there. He probably thought it was a complete creep, but I sent it to Nicholas, obviously founder of Fears. And it's things like that where it's just a nice community, you know, there's a real togetherness.
Well, that's really good to hear. I do get that feeling, and I honestly do believe it to be genuine, that you all look out for each other and support each other, not just emotionally, but also like creatively. I mean, what you've got going on right now is a really thriving, self-sustaining ecosystem almost. And I've been thinking in the last few years, especially through the pandemic and since, the rise of the independent has been very notable in watchmaking. And in the old days, the groups had such power against the independents because they seemed more isolated. But now it seems you've banded together and you're doing these events together and you're almost operating like a group in your own right. And I think that you all do something different. You all push the envelope of design in your own way, and that's a very healthy and sustainable thing. Tell me this, I'm going to put you on the spot. Last question before we move on to another one of your co-hosts for this event. Which of the watches that will be on show today, are you most excited to see, and what is it about their design that makes them interesting to you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I've always been a fan of what Rich does at Studio Underdog, and the reason is to have disrupted the industry so fast. I think it was January 2021 when he set the business up, and it makes complete sense because really he's having fun with it. It's about making horology fun, and I think that plays into the reason that I like that is because that very much plays into what we do. If you don't like color, you don't like upcycling, you don't like a story, you don't like charitable donations, our brand is not going to be for you. And this is the funny thing as well, when we go to, let's say, the more established shows, which aren't just independent focused, you look around the room, it's black, blue, and stainless steel, So we come in there and we're almost like, I guess, a bit of an oddball. So out of all of those brands, I'd say it's probably Rich. But I mean, I guess it's someone else that I need to shout out to as well, just to close off, is you may have seen as well that we have just announced a partnership with Watches of Switzerland Group. So it just shows as well that the industry giants are waking up to the fact that, as you just said earlier, independents are really breaking through now. And it's great to see that the bigger giants or conglomerates of this world are understanding that customers don't just have to go for, let's say, the top Swiss 6 luxury brands. They can be introduced and educated on other brands which are meaningful and may have a much lower price point. But at the same time, at the end of the day, what connects us all is the fact that watch collecting and enjoying the actual purchase and maybe handing it down for generations to come is what unifies us together, really.
Education and enjoyment, 2 things that I'm sure you'll find at the William Wood stall. That's going to be pretty exciting, isn't it? I can't wait to see you all together. And thank you for giving me a straight and honest answer that you admire Rich's work with Studio Underdog. And absolutely, I agree with you. What he did in such a short space of time has been remarkable. Johnny, thank you very much for your time. And I cannot wait to get you back on the air with the Real Time Show for a full-length interview about you, your background, and the watches that you're working with and what's going to happen with the brand in the future. Thanks, mate.
Pleasure. Talk soon.
All right, next up, we've got Jose Miranda from Isotope Watches, one of the most popular and, I would say, joyful watch brands on the UK scene. Jose, welcome to the virtual studio. How are you doing today?
Rob, thank you very much. I'm very good. And you?
I am well, yeah, I am very well. I am missing having Isotope watches in my hands. I think the last time we saw each other was before the pandemic at an event with Joshua Clare Flagg in a hotel somewhere, and it was lovely to spend the day with you then, and I'm very happy to have you back on the airwaves now for the Real Time Show for the very first time. And today we're going to be giving our listeners a little bit of a background of the Isotope brand. If you could tell us a bit about why you got into watchmaking, what you've been doing since you did, and what kind of watches you make, that would be wonderful.
Okay, thank you. Yes, the last time we met was before the pandemic, which seems to have been almost last century. It's unbelievable. But since then, the brand has evolved a lot. So, as a very short background, I collect watches since I was 10 years old, basically. And a few years, about 9 years ago, I wanted to buy another jumping hour, but they asked me a fortune. My wife told me, why don't you make your own? I did it. So our first one was a jumping hour, and I think you saw it when you were at the fair. And then this was supposed to be a one-off. Then the jumping hour sold very well, so this became my plan B. And before the pandemic, a series of events allowed me to focus solely on the brand. And since then, we have released very successful models. One of them is the Hydrium collection, which are a collection of divers. The first one, the most famous one, and the first one was the Wheel Return, an evolution or an interpretation of the door sign saying "I will be back at 10 a.m." for example. And from there, we have evolved in terms of new collections. So at the moment, we have AGMT, we have bronze watches, we have the divers, and very soon we will have a chronograph, a new jumping hour, a watch for cylinder wrists, and a new super compressor.
Wow. So it's all happening. Everything's everything's coming at once. Blooming heck, we got you at a good time. So just for our listeners, we're recording this in July. The episode will air a few weeks out from the event, which is in September on the 16th, my birthday, just a complete coincidence, but feel free to send donations along if you feel like it. So amazingly, I remember of all models, the Hydrium the most, but what I'm really keen to talk about, just to shine a light on, you recently released a collaboration with our good friend Romaric-Andre from Second. So there's a lot of symmetry going on here. How did you become friends with him, and how did this collaboration come about?
When I saw his first collaboration with Moser a few years back, I wanted, in the back of my mind, I wanted to do something similar. And then I saw his collaboration with Moser, and I said, "Oh, damn, this is perfect. It's exactly what I think we should be doing, to have some fun." And from there, I contacted him, and I explained him who we were. He looked, he went through our website. We had a few conversations, and he said, "Okay, I'm happy to go in and to do something with you." And so I told him, "Listen, it's going to be our 7th anniversary next year. I will also upgrade our logo because the first one is not compatible with the kind of designs that we are going to make in the future. And I would like to make a version to commemorate our 7th anniversary." And a few days later, he came back saying, "Listen, I'm going to celebrate the death of your logo, not the birth of the brand."
Typical.
Yes. So he changed the name from Isotope to Autopsy. And then, he created the flat heart hands. And so since we start talking until last month, until the delivery of those watches, they sell really fast. It was only 50 watches. It went by 1.5 years. Yeah, so it's and we have aligned the new one for next year. So let's see what we can do.
Another collaboration with Second.
Yes, it's not 100% confirmed, but I think that he already saw the prototype, and I think he's in. So
Okay. Oh, well, that's brilliant to hear. Oh, that's a lot of fun. It's great to see people making watches that put a smile on people's faces. And I mean, your regular collection, the Hydrium on its own, is still a bright and colourful and, very friendly looking watch. And always I've found when people have had it on their wrist, they find themselves smiling and enjoying the brand. Is that why you got into watches, really, to sort of bring that joy that you have and that specific love of the jumping hour complication to a wider audience?
yes, because I always like different watches. I don't. So only 7 years later, we are making the first dress watch, a polished case. It's a polished case that took so long to develop because it's a cushion case. It's a cushion case, and every cases we were making, it looked like a Panerai. So we had to go back into the design many times to make it different. And this is the idea: is to make the watches that have never been done before. I need to love them. I need to be able to wear those watches. Otherwise, I do not release them. If a prototype, it's not the way I intend them to be. If I don't, if I'm not comfortable using that watch in terms of design, in terms of dimensions, in terms of technical characteristics and specifications, we do not release them. So that is exactly the idea. Do something different, be different, and extract the maximum quality for a very good price point, and make people have fun with our watches.
How important to you is the feedback that you're able to garner from events like the upcoming event with RedBar?
It's essential. So we sell online exclusively. We don't have a physical retail brick and mortar space. So when we have these events, mainly RedBar, and other watch events or other watch fairs, we feel a very deep connection with the public. And that's probably one of the best ways and the only ways we have at the moment to show and to talk about what we are doing. It's essential to be present.
So what kind of events calendar do you have this year? Where else will we be able to see Isotope other than the RedBar meetup?
So we will be at the RedBar. We will be at the Watch Pro in November. We will be in October in New York at the Wind Up Watch Fair. We will be in one watch collectors event discussing the designs of our watches. And probably I'm trying to go to Prague as well. Let's see if we can. So it's a very, very busy agenda.
Oh, well, I hope you make it out to Prague, because I don't live too far away. I live in Dresden, so I'll be popping down, I think, to experience that event, which is going to be hosted in the dead center of Prague in the old town around Christmas time. So that's going to be beautiful. Tell me this. You're Portuguese by origin? Is that correct?
Yes, I was born in the land of port wine a few years ago, and I moved to the UK 11 or 12 years ago. I lost count.
So Isotope is a really important brand on the British independent scene, but you do have this obvious connection to Portugal as well. The Portuguese flag and emblems pop up in your designs and on the website, which is really nice to see that fusion of cultures together there. Which of the other British independents have really impressed you, and which of your peers are you most looking forward to share a space with at this upcoming event?
I'm really enjoying most of the things that our micro brands are doing. With time, I became friend with some of the other brands, obviously, and we have quite an interesting relation. So Richard from Underdog, for example, he has a very similar, philosophy to mine. We like to do something different and colorful and enjoyable. I'm also, a big fan of Fears. They have been doing some really beautiful stuff, and Christopher Ward has, they are unbelievably good. So I always look very, very dearly to everything they do. Bamford is doing some amazing stuff as well. It's a tricky question because I like what most people are doing. Schofield, for example, I love. He's doing amazing stuff. Always love what he does. There are a few more, but I don't remember them all at the moment.
But what a wonderful time to be part of the British independent watchmaking scene with so many different brands to be able to reference, and then your own, of course, which is not like any of the ones that you referenced in your own lineup. And I mean, from a consumer's perspective, it doesn't get any better than that. Having that kind of choice and having these creative characters behind these brands is always something to be excited about. Jose, thank you for your time. Thank you for giving us a brief introduction to Isotope. We'll definitely get you back on the Real Time Show for a full-length interview. And all that's left to say is enjoy the event.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, and speak soon.
Stop laughing.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, next up. You're not sorry. Next up, we've got Lewis Heath from AnOrdain, Scotland's leading light. Is that a fair way to describe you, mate?
Scotland's only light, yeah. In watch, they've got lights and other things, but not just our only Scottish watchmaking light or company. Yeah, yeah. Hi, Rob.
Breaking news: Scotland has electricity. Well done. Okay, yeah. So we were just chatting off air as we do, and we were ranting like a couple of grumpy old men about bad things in the industry, right? But now here we are on air, and we're going to be like a couple of grumpy old.
But we're not.
No, all right, okay.
Yeah.
We were chatting. Okay, now we've got to be positive. You're on air now. Okay,
yes,
it's time to talk about all the wonderful things that lay before us.
Yeah.
Okay, so our listeners almost certainly know who you are. You don't have to go into the entire backstory of AnOrdain. We know what it is that you do. You are specialists in enamel. You're a very popular brand. You have a novel waiting list system which allows people to buy a place on a waiting list, and then when their time rolls around, get the watch that they want at that point. It's very nice. It's working very well. You have a lot of orders because you make beautiful watches. And now you're going to go down to Brighton on my birthday and celebrate my birthday with all of these other British brands.
Without you.
Without me, yeah. It's the best way, honestly.
You're not going to be there, are you? I'm just, you're leading people to think you'll be there. But
no, I'm telling everybody I'm not going to be there because I'm not.
Okay.
I'm just not going to be there. So I would like you to tell our friends on the other end of this podcast exactly what they can expect to see if they do come and visit you down in Brighton.
Well, and I hope they do, because we like doing shows. So I'll be there, and Erland and Ewan, or one of the two Ewans will be there. So they'll be manning the stand, and we'll have everything we've been working on to date there, which in September will be a good few things. There's always lots of interesting bits and bobs, and I'm not exactly sure what will be there, but there'll be fun stuff.
You're just really selling it. I love it. Carry on.
Yeah, we will have a new collaboration we've done with Paul, which is generally really, really exciting.
Tell us about the relationship between AnOrdain and Paulin, because this is something we didn't cover before, and this is really interesting.
It is, yeah. Paulin's 10 years old this year, which is pretty mad. And it was originally my wife and her sister. They had physical shops, so they've had 2 physical shops in Glasgow and one in Edinburgh until the end of the pandemic, and then it just it wasn't working. So Portland's it's a brand that most people have never heard of in the watch world, but it's actually if you're in Glasgow, you will, or chances are you'll have heard of it because they've done lots of subway projects and there's shops and stuff like that. So it's gone from having kind of 10 years as a kind of entry, like high street quartz type brand that it's sort of sub £500 thing. And anyway, we did a watch. Essentially, did a watch for them. We made a watch, and the brief was to create kind of an interesting watch that had the qualities of what everyone looks for in kind of our world, but that you could afford. And this was such a good brief, and it was great fun. And the Neo came out of that. And so I think that was probably about 2 or 3 years ago that all came about. And now Paulin as a company was kind of the people behind it have kind of got other things in life happening, and the shop's shut. And so what we're doing at the moment is we're in the process of converting it into an entry level point to kind of AnOrdain and to interesting watchmaking. So it's gonna be kind of a separate brand, but a sister brand to AnOrdain. And we're gonna get rid of a lot of the stuff and just have things that we've starting with the Neo and other kind of more interesting experiments. But we've been working on this for about 9 months now, and it's really fun because you can do things that we can't do at AnOrdain. So things are you can be a bit more sort of playful. We're sourcing things from places that outside of Europe, whereas we've not done that with AnOrdain, and it gives you it allows you to make a lot more accessible products. And that's the downside of AnOrdain is that there has been such demand, and we make 45 or 50 a month, and so people get annoyed they can't get one. So it would be nice to be able to kind of address some of those issues with products like this.
It is interesting, and I think the key word in that is products, and that's the difference, because what you have with AnOrdain is something very artisanal. It is an artisanal product, of course, but people don't look at it as a product. They look at it more as a work of art because it has such an important aspect of handcraft in its creation. Whereas the thing with Poland is, like you say, with Poland, you're able to be creative in a completely different way. You're taking that brief and you're running with it. You don't have the same constraints that you placed upon yourself with the bar that you set so high with AnOrdain. So that is interesting. It's a decent way of explaining it, actually, because I never really thought of it like that. And I absolutely loved the Neo watches, and I was a huge fan of the Neo B. I love the orange, yellow brush dial. Yeah. Oh, it's gorgeous. I should have bought one. I don't know what I was thinking. I just dallied too long, and now it's all sold out.
I mean, the actual production process was really, because it was anodizing aluminium, which is really unstable. We never actually made that many of them over the time. But yeah, I mean, there are a lot of people in AnOrdain are designers of different types, so it allows them to have another outlet for doing some really fun stuff. And so I think we're looking at it as a kind of a playground for new ideas and for things that we might potentially work into AnOrdain in different ways. And so it's going to be really fun. And it's not. I think the pricing is important to keep at kind of entry level. So we had to buy lots of movements off Le Jeu Perret to kind of ensure we had a steady supply for AnOrdain. So we've got some really interesting movements that we're going to repurpose into the Poland watches.
I mean, that's quite exciting. It's a new avenue and a new aspect of the wider brand family of AnOrdain to enjoy, shall we say. And for those people on the waiting lists, people that have been waiting for their AnOrdain watch for quite some time, then perhaps this will be an interesting alternative for them to scratch that itch.
Yeah, and I mean, it seems like everything's always getting more expensive, and I quite like the idea of that not being the case. With brands, it seems like that's the aspiration, is to get more and more expensive, which I think sometimes sometimes that happens naturally when you start using better supplies and higher end specs and stuff. But I do think, especially from a design perspective, there's a really exciting challenge about working to a tight budget. It kind of really generates creativity, I think.
I've also realized that part of the reason why you're enjoying this so much is because it gives you another chance of actually learning how to price a watch. Because as we all know, you royally messed up when it came to pricing AnOrdain. Now, there's a brand, the prices has got to go up with AnOrdain, but this isn't the same thing, as like a regular heritage brand raising the prices a couple of times a year just for a laugh. This is absolutely essential, because you now realize how expensive it is to make a watch with a hand enamel dial.
Thanks for that. No, I wouldn't put it past me ruining that again, but it's nice. It's nice to keep people happy.
Are you going to take any Poland watches along to the event in Brighton?
Yes, we are. Yeah, and I think that's going to be the kind of fun part, really, because I think there are some AnOrdains that we've been working on. So some kind of different dial iterations of things, which will be perhaps available to the waiting list later in the year. And I don't know how much of that will be finished for September, because it's we're looking at the Swiss holidays and the Italian and French. Like, all our suppliers are somewhere around there, and that's their big summer holiday between basically now and then. So I don't think we'll have had 2 months worth of progress as we might have done in another time of year. So I can't. What I'm saying is I'm not exactly sure what'll be around then, but we'll have interesting pieces.
Well, yeah, make the trip to Brighton.
If you're there, go to the stand. There'll be a few new bits.
Goodness sake, Lewis, stop it.
I am great at marketing, aren't I?
You are absolutely awful.
Bring my kids. You can see them. And
what are you doing now? Like, what's this angle?
Selling children, Rob. Selling kids.
Selling children.
I have
okay.
3 very tired and grumpy children that have been on the sleeper train from Inverness the night before, and 2 very grumpy parents. I think I'm going to be. No, that's why I'm not probably. We've got capable people in the stand in the form of Bernard and Ewan who know stuff and can speak coherently and answer questions, and I'll be somewhere around as well.
Can we get Ewan on the podcast next time?
Yeah, that might be a better idea. I think that's probably a very good idea.
Okay. Like, so we don't know exactly what's going to be there in September, but there will be something, and it will be worth seeing, because if you don't...
We'll have all of our current watches to see and try
all of the current watches. Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, we've got a full sample set now. So they'll all be there, and there will be a few experimental dials. We'll be able to show you Sunburst that we did for Hodinkee, the one that took yonks to make. And I think stuff like that's really nice to see in person, because it really, I mean, the light play on that dial is just phenomenal. So I think things like that would definitely be worth seeing. And there's always sort of experimental stuff that we've done and we tend to bring to shows, but we don't launch. So coming along is, there'll be lots of stuff to see, and the Poland stuff is really exciting. The graphics, the typography, the colors, and actually the case design. I think I showed you the case, didn't I, Rob? Did I show you the case?
Yeah, I've actually got images of some of the dials as well. So
and it's I really think it's something. It's different and it's got character, and I think that's kind of pretty important. So yeah, I think both AnOrdain and Poland will be worth a visit.
Oh yeah, I think so, absolutely. And of course, you get to meet Lewis.
Are you both looking forward to seeing this show that you're not going to? What do you say?
Hang on a second. Who's the interviewer here?
I'm trying to make your life. You just edit this out, won't you?
I mean, I was going to ask you, and I have to get an answer out of you on the same subject. But I will. Okay, I'll answer your question. I suppose. Which 3 brands would I be most keen to see if I were going to the event?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, you see, it's difficult. I don't know if I should choose the brands that I'm closest to or the brands that I know the least about, because I think the lineup is superb, and I really am very regretful of the fact that I'm not able to go. But I mean, obviously, I would like to see.
I mean, you could go, couldn't you? You could. It was a choice not to go. You decided that you'd rather do something else, didn't you?
Okay, well, firstly, I'm on holiday at the time. A holiday that I booked months ago. So yeah, I could. I guess you're right. Yeah, I'm sorry. Like, all this time I've been saying, "No, I can't go," and you're like calling me out. Mate, this is the real-time show, so fair enough. Yeah, I'm a dick. I decided I'd rather be in Mallorca than be in Brighton with Lewis Heath and his tired kids. As attractive as it sounds. So obviously, I'd like to see you. I always like seeing the AnOrdain watches as well. That's always fun for me. I'm very close to Giles from Schofield, a good mate of mine. So obviously, I would like to see him. I mean, those ones are easy picks, but I'm so interested in all of the other watches. I mean, there's so much to see. Like, Christopher Ward's got some really interesting stuff, and I haven't seen all of the colors of the 12, and that would be nice to see. Helicon is coming out with new pieces in interesting colors as well, so I'd like to see all that stuff. Everybody you ask will mention Richard from Studio Underdog, because he's a top bloke and the watches are fun. I've been lucky enough to see a lot of Studio Underdog stuff in person, though, so maybe I could say, and I'm sure Richard would understand this, that I wouldn't travel myself specifically for that, because I've seen that range already. But there's a lot of very, very, very interesting stuff, and I just think that anyone that's half into watches will be far from disappointed for making the trip. And I mean, Brighton's a lovely place as well, isn't it? So
there's a good range, isn't there? There's like something for everyone, I think it's fair to say.
Well, there really is, yeah. I mean, you've got some absolutely brilliant stuff You know who I am a fan of? You know what I would like to see in person? It's Fairer. I've never seen
Oh, have you
Fairer.
not
I
seen
guess
him?
it's Fairer. I've never seen him in real life. I don't know the guys behind the brand, but I love the colours that they use. I love the purple. I love the teals. And
Yeah.
I love like the accents, like the bright accents. They're not afraid of using colour, and they use it in a really good way. I'd like to meet Nicholas from Fears. We've spoken briefly, but we've never actually met, and that seems completely bizarre.
Oh, Nick's a lovely man. Yeah, no, he's yeah. You really should come there if you're not. I presume you'd met and seen all these.
I mean, most, but those guys are interesting. I'm going to take back the microphone now, saying, Lewis, which brand are you most excited to see the products of, let's say? Make it easy for you. Well,
no, I do the wind-up shows, and so I see a lot of them, like Studio Underdog and Fears and Fairer and all that lot. And so they're all brilliant, and I've seen them all before. But one I haven't seen is Schofield, which I am very keen, because he's like Charles, I've spoken on the phone, and he's a very interesting man. And it's fantastic attention to detail. And I think they have a lot of the same kind of interests in sort of local sourcing and not for making very many watches that we do. So I'd be really keen to meet him.
I would love it if you two hit it off and decided to collaborate. Could you imagine an enamel dialed Schofield? Oh,
yeah, I think if I agree to any more collaborations, the enamelers will stab me. In fact, I know they will, because they've mentioned it. So,
oh wow,
yeah, no, it would be nice. But no, well, we've got a few more collaborations coming up.
Good. One more question for you. If I am a fan of AnOrdain and I've been looking at the models for a long time on the website, and I've read a lot about you in the press, and I've listened to lovely podcasts like the Real Time Show, and I think I might want an AnOrdain, so I'm going to make the trip down to Brighton to see you and your wife and your tired children, and I'm going to try on some of your watches. Now, what if I get there and I realize that there is a particular watch that I absolutely adore? I assume I cannot buy it there because there's a long waiting list that stretches many years into the future. If I were to put my money down, firstly, how much money do I have to put down to join that waiting list? And is there any guarantee that the model I fall in love with will still be available when my slot rolls around?
Good question. Yeah, so the waiting list is actually not open at the moment. What we did is we had an awful lot of people, and everyone was asking, where am I on the list? Because it's a case of you put your name down, and we didn't know where people were on the list because we didn't know how many people were going to take up their slot. So we went through and I said to everyone, if you'd like a slot, can you put a reservation fee down? And then we kind of went through it chronologically, so that people who signed up first at the beginning. And we got fees paid up till 2027, I think.
Good grief.
Yeah, so I think towards the end even, perhaps. So, that was that. So we kind of, everyone who wanted a slot has now got one. We're not entirely sure how to kind of progress from there, because we would now be dealing with 2028, 29. And I think it is such a long way into the future that it does raise some logistical issues about things like pricing and whatnot. So what we're going to do is just, continue working through the list. The idea with availability is that when it comes to your slot, anything that we're making, you can choose.
At that time,
we're trying not to discontinue anything, but there are circumstances where, like an enamel supplier might, one of them had a heart attack 2 years ago, and that caused complete chaos because he was the only person who knew how to make about a third of the enamels we used. So things like that can crop up, but the idea is not to discontinue anything, and to be able to offer anyone the new things that are coming out. So that's the plan. I think we're just going to work out how we're going to reopen the list, or how we're going to work in the future. Because it's a long time, and I think things do change. So that's the situation at the moment. So it is. I realise it is very frustrating, but it's also, and we spent so long going through possibilities with this. I think it is much fairer than doing a kind of, how much money have you spent with the brand, or a lottery or stuff like that. I mean, it's, you can have one if you want one up to the point where, we closed the list last year. So we feel it's been the fairest way of dealing with people, but it's, no way is perfect, I think.
No, that's true. I mean, any brand trying to do something like you're doing, like, trying to be open and transparent and straightforward with your customers and also manage expectations is going to run into that problem that you can't please all of the people all of the time. But if I'm a new customer and I come down and I try on the watches and I fall in love, I guess I can sign up for the newsletter.
If that is the case, put your name on the website or put your name on the website now, just in case. And we are taking those names, so it'd be for the newsletter, and we'll get in touch with everyone when we open up again. I would point out, I think this perhaps got lost in the communications. When we did the 25 pieces for Dinky, those watches that was agreed to 18 months ago.
I think he was effectively a client in itself that had placed a bulk order for 25 pieces, really.
Yeah, but we wouldn't do limited editions. I mean, we wouldn't, and we certainly haven't agreed to any since the waiting list system got set up, because that was, otherwise it kind of doesn't work. So, that's how we work, and we're not working with we haven't worked with retailers either. So it's that's the system.
I think it's a good one. I think it's as good as it can be. It's just, a sign of the incredible demand.
Funny times, aren't they? Yeah.
Well, it's a weird time. And the company is operating at a sustainable level at the moment. So it isn't just a question of you can't snap your fingers and just suddenly have 10 more enamelers on there. And you may not really want to do that anyway, because you have to also plan for the future. And although being sold out till 2027 and potentially even longer if you open the order books again seems like a wonderful problem to have. You just don't know what's beyond that,
Yeah, I mean, we've got 25 people now, and the majority of those are doing some form of production, whether it's enameling or engraving or watchmaking. And the dynamic of a company changes, I think, when you grow too quickly and when you get above a certain size. And at the moment, it's very much everyone's kind of got their speciality, and everyone knows each other well. It's a nice environment, and I don't want to make billions of pounds. I want to make a kind of company that gives people a good life and they enjoy, and makes people comfortable. So, people always ask about growth and expansion and stuff, and it's not, I wouldn't do it for the sake of it. I think is the answer to that. Not that was a question. You just went off on a tangent when you were talking about getting new enamelers. Yeah,
it's a great point to end upon, because it sums up the company entirely. You're looking to make a quality product and a quality company that takes care of the people that work for it and does a good job at maintaining an almost extinct craft in the industry. And long may that continue. Right, Lewis.
Thanks, Rob.
I don't know what you're doing, but head off, and I'll see you soon, if not in Brighton, up in Glasgow. Thanks, mate.